So we're putting together our maps, and we're talking about level visibility last week, where we're stacking it, and somebody can work on special effects, and somebody can work on lighting, and they can all be stacked. But there's also how do you tie things up side by side by side. And I actually wanted to show you this demo, but I couldn't find it on my computer. But apparently it was there because when I just reinstalled it, it called it number 2. So apparently it exists somewhere. But inside, again, and this is like going back to week 1, inside of the samples tab is content examples, and it's an encyclopedia of everything you can do in Unreal Engine. But what it is now is that after Unreal Engine 5, there's all these new things it can do, and it didn't want to tell you about all the old things it can do. So I have, guys, this is Unreal Engine 4. Talk about being old. This is like 2 years ago. Right. And it has its own content examples. It has some things that are still valid. And one of those is level streaming. Again, we talked about level streaming as a stack on top of each other, but there's also levels streaming sequentially. So, when you go to install the content examples, if you have 4.27 installed, you say create project and you choose an older engine version, right? And then it has some different examples and things, so things that are somewhat deprecated or no longer useful. So this one is about level streaming. It shows you the process of streaming different ways of content at runtime. It's about it's about optimization in a lot of ways. We're not showing things you don't want to see, but it's also about getting rid of things you're no longer looking at as well, right? If your show isn't performing well, you're only looking one direction ahead of you. Maybe you need to start turning off things behind you and making things a little more modular so that they're not part of your map. So if I hit play here, again, I'm not going to demo the whole map. You guys can find it, find this computer. I'll put it on that computer if you want to read all the different sections. But as we already know, there is a persistent map, right? And the important thing to do here is make sure you're looking at the levels, right? And these levels, even though this is a different UI, it's the same idea that the blue dots next to them are being loaded by blueprints, right? They have a blue dot for blueprints, and things that have that are just loaded are always loaded. This is called the if I stop it, this is called the streaming method. Either it's being loaded by blueprints or are always loaded. You're not going to be using blueprints because that adds interactivity. You just animate these things off and on, right? I taught you how to do level visibility tracks. You're going to be using level visibility tracks for this thing, but this example uses blueprints. So again, moving forward, all I have available to me is my persistent, which is just this, which is just this map, right? This is the level, and in it is your pawn. Your camera is actually in the persistent, so you can turn things off and on, and it's always there. And then it has a sky. So right, somebody developed the sky, and the sky is always going to be there. So why would you ever put it on blueprints? It's just always going to be there. These other things need to be turned off and on over blueprints. So as I go forward, the invisible trigger right there, just turned it on over blueprints, right? And then as I go forward there, the invisible blueprint or trigger box turns it on. And then as I start moving forward, I start turning things off behind me, right? That's roughly called garbage collection, right? Getting rid of it. And then as I move forward, this one, you could totally steal this door if you're doing something that's in like a base. When you get close to it, it triggers an animation that opens up and the thing turns on. And when I go through, it turns off, right? But we're never looking behind us, so we never know that's there. That's that whole idea of like creating a Hollywood like set, like a Western, where it's only facades and you really can't see the things behind it, right? So this is a way of organizing and subdividing up maps. Cool. You can read a little bit more about all this stuff, but essentially you can break it apart by hitting escape and just seeing that in the blueprints, level blueprints, are a series of trigger boxes that when you go through them, they open and close certain maps, right? Simple enough, but it's worth showing because we didn't have a chance. I didn't have a chance to show you last week because I didn't have it installed on my computer because I had cleaned up my computer and uninstalled 4.27. Right, so that's probably why it wasn't showing up because I just didn't have 4.27 installed. Cool. So that's level streaming. Any questions about that? Again, so you might make a. Let me go ahead and close this off, and I'll open up my actual class project. So in the same way I was moving around the map, remember saw how I said edit location map, and I moved it around. you can move things side by side and connect these things. Again, sometimes my persistent level, I keep it empty, and sometimes it's just my post-processing to keep my color grading consistent, and my sky, and my pawn. That way my pawn can be continuous, and the maps just turn off and on between them. Cool. Now, let's open up the... Let's not install Twinmotion. That would be really a non sequitur. If someone wants to do architectural stuff. So we're going to look at a thing called LiveLink XR. I've included a link to it in the syllabus if you need to go over it. But so here it says VR controllers, right? That's called LiveLink XR. And I'm just kind of going through this. This is how do you use a Vive VR headset, but using it just for the data that comes with the controllers. It's being used for virtual production. It has little trackers. You can track cameras. You can do all of virtual production using $100 motion capture system, right? The lighthouses are $150. The controllers are $100. And Offworld Live wants me to log in. Cool. Cool. So LiveLink, first of all, you have to turn it on. The plugins. In your project, you go to your edit and plugins. I already have it open. LiveLink. So LiveLink obviously has to be on. We've already been looking at that. LiveLink XR right here. And that means you can get information from a Vive. You have to restart the computer. And then now you should have a LiveLink source available to you. I've already installed Steam. You don't have to go through all the steps of installing the software that sends the data, right? I just turn on the computer. In fact, I'm not even going to do this here. I'm going to do this remotely on the giant computer out there. Cool. Don't need it. Don't need it. Cool. So this is my class project I'm working on. Go ahead and turn it on. And then I'll open up the LiveLink window and see if that controller still be turning on because its IMU is registering data being sent to it. So it shouldn't turn off. It does auto turn off after a while. It does need to be charged. It would be considered to let that charge for folks if it runs out of juice. So LiveLink. And then go to source. I can go ahead and delete this for now. I'll keep it on. Say source, LiveLink source, and you want controllers, right? It's going to bring in the HMD no matter what. We're not doing any trackers. If you do want to use trackers, more power to you, but I don't think anyone's going to get that far. We do have many trackers here. And then you add it, and then it shows up here. Right now, we're using a controller for the right hand. There's two that look identical, so this will tell you that you're getting the one for the right hand. And then you'll reference this information later. Okay, going back to our map. Once we have the plugin content loaded, if you go down to your content browser and go to the, where is it? The settings. You can say show both engine and plugin content, and you can find down here in your plugins and whatever, and you can just search for it. You have 2 bits of information or 2 plugins around your LiveLink data. And you can bring in, first of all, this LiveLink XR data, drag it into your map. I already have a bunch in here because I've been messing around with this. You don't have to open them up if you don't care about them. All right, let's just search for LiveLink. Well, that's everything. So LiveLink data, and then LiveLink debug viz. And then with this receiving data, it'll tell you what thing it is, right? You select on it. Why can't I not? Oh, because there's nothing connected. Cool. So real quickly, I'm going to go wake it up because it seems to be asleep. We'll edit this out in magic post-production. Cool. So Steam has to be started before we start, so I'm going to go ahead and save. Off. It's very worrisome that NVIDIA has many of these. Let's see. Exit Steam. Cool. And then we're going to start Steam. And from here, hit the little VR headset. There it goes. And see, it sees the controller, active, and it has the headset and everything on. Cool. So glad I had to crash it and turn it back on so you guys have that recorded for later on. So now, let's go to LiveLink Data Handler, and let's LiveLink. Let's get rid of this instance. And I made a preset for a controller. Huh. It's playing. It's currently tracking. So, the other video I gave you in the syllabus is what to do when your live link's not working. It's a very short video. Ah, I know what it is. Great. So this is a step I skipped. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. So this only works when you are in VR, but according to this video right here, not the Mr. Show video, but the fixing live link, you have to actually make a shortcut to your engine.
To work with your Vive trackers?
I can't believe I forgot this. And give it a command to execute XR only. I'll show you what that means. So I made a shortcut to the engine. It's all the way over here. Let me close this down. Panicked for a second. So here's the engine. It says Amusement Parks Engine Unreal. When you're opening your project, if you want to use controller, which I'm sure most people won't have a chance to get to, double click on the engine. This thing on the properties, I've given it the flag to load XR tracking only. This means that tracking works when you're not using the headset. So it's just always on. It's super cool to play around with. So just open the engine before you open a project. Don't open up the project itself. From here, you can browse to your project, and it is Amusement Parks. Now when I say open, it'll load up. The tracking is green now, so it's getting active data. It says it's receiving. If I would know this, I always want to use these. I can save this preset as a right controller. I can even go to my project settings if I don't want to deal with it later on, if I'm rushed to do a showcase, per se. You go down to Live Link settings in the plugins, and you say Live Link, always use that right controller preset. It'll just connect to the right controller when you start your project. It's just because I didn't open up the engine with through this icon first. Now, if I go through the steps of the tracking, we could say, okay, we're getting it. Cool. There we go. Now we're receiving it. We have these two blueprints that we opened up. And then you can open up drag the LiveLink data handler to our scene, and then toggle debug visibility. And you'll be able to choose a tracker you want to show. Not necessary. This is just to make sure you're getting data. Right? That might be an overkill. You might just want to jump in. So I have live link thing. Cool. Toggle debug. There I go. I got a debug one. Let's choose maybe this one. I will do that one. And we go over to it. And we see it says, there's our head. It's upside down. And there's our controller that's on the fan just rotating over there, right? So we now have a controller that's not getting the best tracking right now. It's not the super accurate, but if I was there using my wrist, it would be better. Trust me. Cool? And it tells you that it's the right controller, right? We've debugged it, we understand we get data, and this is working in real time. I'm not hitting play button, it's just cool live motion capture. So how do I get this data if I actually want to use it in the scene? So I'll navigate out of my engine and go to my assets. I've already made one, but I'll make another one. Sorry. Make a actor blueprint. And where the heck would that go? Oh, it's down here. There we go. BP tracker 2, because I already made a tracker 1. Bring it in. And open it up. And then add that live link component. And then I could say off my live link event when I'm getting live links updated. Shoot me some stuff. We want to get live link. All right, let's just search for live link real quick. Live link. Set live link controller. No, that's not it. It's evaluate live link. Evaluate live link frame. What is my subject? Right. What is its role? It's a transform role. It's that by default it chose that. It's moving around, and then we have this same thing we had for line tracing is how do you break the results? Break results, and you have frame data. Every frame, you have a transform, and there you go. You have a location, rotation, and scale. It's not going to give you any scale. It's just position and rotation. So every frame, evaluate it, and then on the seat and route, I'm going to add like a cone. Drag the cone. And I want to set position, but I don't want to set absolute position because live link only will give mocap data you can't override. It'll always be in that position of wherever the room is, wherever 00 is calibrated. We want to offset it from the route or offset it from our ride machine, right? So whatever's being animated, we want to put this inside that blueprint, and whatever we're animating, we want to make sure that it's offset, right? We don't want to see its rotation, but we want to see its position. Or I guess you do want its rotation. So whatever its rotation is, you put it off that thing. It could be your camera. So we're going to set the relative location rotation, and just feed it in. Compile. And then maybe this is way too big. Cool, so it's not really tracking really well, but you see that it's getting the same data as the other one, right? And then if you rotate the cone, you could do your line trace, right? You're holding a cone, looks like a jousting thing, right? So if there it goes, moving a little more. So to kind of do the cooking show, because we've already done line tracing before, if I bring BP tracker in here, it's also getting the data. And if I hit play, it's line tracing, right, from that cone. Whatever you're doing, there's your wand, right? One thing we don't have is we don't have button presses. If you want to do button presses, we have to go to Engine 5.4. If you want me to, I can upgrade your project for you. Otherwise, use a space bar, use something else, or just make it whenever it hits it, it makes it explode or whatever. But here's how you do live controllers and give somebody an interactive component for really quick. And I'll send you guys this blueprint that is the tracker that has the raycast in it, so you can guys see how it's done. That is in. So just show you what else it has. That's a bunch of junk. I'll clean it up. So that's the same thing. I'm getting. I'm sending it location rotation, and then I'm doing a quick little line trace right here, and sending it on. And the hierarchy is that I'm actually controlling this XR root that it's parented to, so I can actually rotate the cone and face it down the Z that I want to go to. So yeah, if you want to do this stuff, I don't want to belabor this because I don't know if people are going to be using this. I want it to be part of the recordings of the class because I'll put these up on YouTube at the end of the semester for anyone who's following along at home. But that's the final step, is how to do a controller and have interaction. And what's cool about this set relative is that as I move it around, all right, so I find this tracker, it's going crazy. I can move it around, I can animate it, or you could take it and you could just like attach it to your ride, and then as you move, right, like that, and then as you move your ride around, it'll move the animation, right? So there you go on your track with your little jousting thing. Cool. All right, so that's it.